Hey noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and check this out. Today I found the channel, never seen this channel before in my entire life, and it's called History Hit. But anyways, as you know, they've got like this expert and that expert and this other expert, and sometimes, as you know, it's not like my favorite. But today they've got a good one. Today they've got a good expert. I'm so excited to watch a video that I actually like. Rejuvenating experience. Let's go. And the expert in question is, yes, you guessed it, Todd's Workshop. We tested deadly medieval weapons of war in a special collaboration with Todd's Workshop. So basically he tested the medieval weapons of war. You turned on the camera, but hey, that's a great guest. That is a great guest. I'm so excited to finally not having to debunk anything. So this is gonna be a blast. So excited. Let's go.
Oh, nice.
Right in the knee.
Oh, right in the knee. I know what you're doing.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Nice. Oh, arse wipes.
All of that fire bit is inside him as well.
Oh my goodness.
Not very good shot.
No, his knee's never going to be the same.
What is it with the knees?
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
So that's the thing. That's my daughter's football goal, that is.
Sorry, Todd's daughter.
Medieval weapon testing, that's awesome. What are we testing, Todd? What are we testing?
I'm Matt Lewis, and as a medieval historian, podcaster and author, I'm quite often thinking, talking and writing about medieval warfare, and particularly the use of bows. But I don't really know that much about how things like this work in practice. So today I've come to meet someone who can fill me in.
Appreciate that.
Todd from Todd's Workshop.
That is a perfect,
operating
perfect
gigantic Roman
choice.
ballistas to shooting longbow arrows against medieval plate armor, Todd has made it his mission to recreate and test the most infamous weapons from our past.
No, that's incorrect. Todd has made it his mission to destroy me financially. That's Todd's mission, because I'm gonna buy every single thing this man makes. I do own a couple of maces though, from him.
Heck, he's even got a
What, you thought I was gonna leave it at that? How many years have you been subscribed to this channel? Seriously, man. No, let me tell you a little bit more about these two maces I've got. And no, Todd hasn't sponsored this section as if Todd needed to pay me to speak. Never shut up about his stuff. So these two maces I've got here are based on real examples. It's just that the originals would have been made of iron. Instead, this one is made of bronze and this one is made of brass because I'm fancy like that. The shaft is made of ash, and in continental Europe it would have been either ash or pine. Also because it is possible that pine was harder back in the day as compared to how it is now. This mace is based on a 12th century finding from Eastern Europe, specifically Bulgaria. It was made in Bulgaria, just like you. And this one instead is more of, well, it's a common design. You find it all the way back to the 10th century, but then again, this one is based on a finding from the either 14th or 15th century. You'll have to ask him, I don't remember that. And in honor of Todd here, let me smash something. So let's pretend that the pumpkin is your head.
functioning medieval trebuchet
he
we
does.
launched bowling balls from a couple of years ago.
I
Great to
mean,
meet you, Todd.
Yeah,
Thank you
you
so
too.
much for
nice
having
to
us.
meet you.
What I really want to try and get at here is, could an incompetent like me, who's never picked any of these things up, use any of these weapons? Do some of them need a degree of proficiency? Are there some of them that just about any idiot could use?
I mean, you've just kind of summed it all up. Some of them any idiot can use. Some of them really are quite sophisticated and difficult, but almost all of them you can just get straight into with a base level. You're not going to be the best, but you'll accomplish something that the other side doesn't want you to do.
For instance, get him right in the knee. Right in the knee you have.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Hit him right in the knee. Oh, right in the knee.
Something unpleasant to them. So we have
Like
got
the knee.
some spears on the end here of various kinds. We've got sort of throwing things, plumbata, axes, hurlblats. And then we got bows. So longbow, crossbow, and then staff sling. I forgot the staff sling. And the
Yeah,
regular
don't forget that.
Right, let's see what any old idiot can do then.
Well,
Where are we going to start?
We're going to start with the idiot thing, but it's more deceptive than you would think. A rock.
A rock, yeah, I can do that.
Ancient forms of ranged combat, the hurling of stones or rocks, can be traced back to our earliest ancestors. Throughout the battles of antiquity, the sieges of the medieval period, and even the riots of today.
You go back to the dawn of time, I don't know, 300,000-400,000 years ago.
Yeah, all the way down to the one that became a vampire. Cain.
You will have the blood you hunger for.
There would have been cavemen throwing rocks at each other, picking them up, smashing each other over the head. That didn't really progress for a long time. Spears came along at some point, but the rock was right there at the beginning. But the thing is, it's not just cavemen throwing rocks at each other and bad little boys in the woods.
It's also it's also any average English, Irishman or Scotsman in a pub on a Saturday evening.
It was still a Greek and a Roman weapon, and I'm guessing,
Yeah.
I don't know, you could probably help out,
Slingers.
but probably medieval as well. So the Greeks absolutely used to throw rocks at each other. I think it was peltasts with the Greek
Those
rock
Greeks.
throwers, pelting rocks. I can't remember what the Roman name was, but they were literally bodies of troops that did nothing but throw rocks at each other. The Romans, again, absolutely, they were trained, the legionaries were trained in the throwing of rocks. Because as Vegetius, one of the authors on Roman warfare, said,
Yep.
a period author, battles are so often fought in rocky places, so teach your troops to throw rocks.
So
that
the land is giving you a ready supply of weapons.
the land is giving
Pretty
you a
much,
ready
yeah.
supply of weapons, but of course, small stone, big stone, what size? So the Romans, being the Romans, regulated what size, which that's about 350 grams.
This is kind of a roughly a
The
standard
Romans
Roman
being the
throwing stone.
It's a standard Roman throw.
And then I guess like the spear, you practice with that enough, you will become more and more
Yeah.
proficient in hitting a
Absolutely.
target with some force
Yeah.
and making this more deadly than it will be in my hands.
Isn't it interesting though that it really literally looks like a baseball ball, right? It's pretty much that size. It's fascinating. I mean, that the Romans thought, for a throwing projectile that is going to be roughly this size and this weight, this is the optimum for, I imagine, precision, damage, and frequency, right? Of sort of rate of fire, if you can call it like that, rate of stones. Because there are a few things that you need to consider. Of course, you can throw a massive stone, but how many can you throw of those and how far away can you throw them? So there are a few things that I think they took into consideration before deciding the standardization of that's the right rock that you throw on the head of that muppet of a Celtic Gaul.
Well, again, I mean, I don't know if you're a cricket player. I never really was.
No.
But you watch a cricket thrower, and it's a lighter ball, cricket ball, yeah, fine. But I think it's about 140 grams, and that's quite a lot more. But you see the accuracy and the power that they can deliver it. And baseball players over in the States, the way they can deliver those balls.
Yeah.
You get a rock thrown at you by a baseball player or a, cricket player, it's going to be accurate and it is going to be hard. You know you don't want to be there. We don't have to show people on film. You know that you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of missile weapons, but it's
Yeah.
also a really long-lasting thing because it's so simple, but it's so effective.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it's so effective, yeah.
Simple and effective it may be, as long as you could aim.
I think it starts becoming less effective when more and more soldiers are equipped in armor, of course, because at the end of the day, all you really need is a good helmet. And clearly, if you're a fantastic shot and you hit them in the face, regardless of the helmet, then, that's going to deal some reasonable damage. But then if you hit them anywhere else on the body, I want to say that, if you hit them in the knee, that would be really problematic.
I used to be in a...
But if you hit them in the torso and they've got layers of material that might absorb, it might still hurt a lot though. So I think it's something that should be tested, I suppose. Well, they're going to test it. It's just I don't think the mannequin is going to tell us how much it hurt. Yeah, I wonder up to what point it becomes less effective when you fight. I think if the person is in armor, that's kind of when it ends its effectiveness and you need something better.
So has he got a name, by the way, Al?
His name is Joe.
Joe.
Joe?
He's slightly poorly from some medical experiments that he's been through. So we thought before he perishes completely, we'd see what other pain we could
Good
subject
thinking.
him to.
Good thinking.
And I
did
suspect I'm going to subject him to no pain because I'm not going to hit him.
Nah, I think you'll hit him. Come on. Go for it. Focus. Left-handed. Oh
Absolute
no,
rubbish.
that did not go well. Well, it's normal. He needs to practice a bit. Todd's was closer. I mean, if the man had
One
legs.
day I'll get him.
So assuming one day I actually got reasonably good at throwing that stone,
Yeah.
clearly that's not today. What would be the next evolution of that? How would I refine just throwing a rock?
Yeah,
Well,
that's the
that's
sling.
actually quite a big rock. Okay, so that's not something that you can easily throw in a sling. So the sling is what you want, but this is not the rock for it. That's going to come back for the staff sling, so that's later on. But this is the regular sling, and it throws smaller rocks. So if you have a look at that,
And so we've just literally got a small piece of
Yeah.
leather, 2 holes, bit of cord on each side.
Yeah, very simple.
incredibly basic.
Exactly what you'd
Prehistoric.
imagine a sling to be.
Yeah, it's even possible to make them just woven out of one piece of string, basically one piece of cord. But we all know the biblical story, David and Goliath.
Right.
And the point about that story is it didn't matter that Goliath was a Goliath, was a giant, and that David was small. He's got a weapon there that can break bones. So, it's absolutely feared in both Roman and medieval warfare that those are the sort of
Oh
things
my gosh.
that will break.
I just imagined someone being hit by one of those, like you get the momentum, you throw and you hit them in the teeth. Holy moly, I don't even want to, why did I even imagine? Why did my mind go there? What's wrong with me? I need therapy. This is my therapy. Todd's workshop is my therapy.
Your arms and your legs, even though they're small stones. And the reason for that
Right.
is they're going so darn fast.
So this
Yeah.
is essentially a force multiplier at that point. This
Oh,
turns the
absolutely.
small guy
Becomes a
into a big
projectile.
guy,
Yes.
or a small guy who can defeat a big guy. And I guess people might have heard of like the Balearic slingers. They're quite famous. You get cultures who are good
Yeah.
at refining this and making this into their weapon of
Kind of
choice on the battlefield.
specializing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So the Balearic slingers now, it's still a tradition that they pride themselves in. So they still run their slinging competitions every year. But again, they were well known back in Roman times. So, there were whole bodies of troops which they used as auxiliary troops, Balearic slingers.
And again, we said before, this looks ridiculously simple.
It does, but it's not.
It's not.
So it really
Is it
is
not?
the simplest of weapons to make. You have a piece of leather there.
Right.
You can do it just with cord, very simply.
I wonder if it's vegetably
This is just the
tanned.
way I've done mine. You have a finger loop, they all do. And that goes on your finger here and
I
it
see.
stays attached to you. So the other half is you've got a cord with a knot. That's pinched between your thumb and finger. So effectively, we have a safety training weight here for you.
This is slings with stabilizers.
This is slings with stabiliser. So obviously you whirl it around your head, which is just one way of doing it. It's just the way that I favour. Saying that, I also have to point out I don't do this a lot, but I'll be all right. So really the trigger is your thumb and your finger in that knot, that when you're ready to release it, you open it and it just drops. I mean, it is
Right.
as simple as anything can be.
But also a universal idea that your trigger
I see,
finger
so you're doing
is
this
there,
and then you
we will
leave.
have that in bows and things like that in the future as well. There is always that element of your finger being the trigger.
Well, I think that's the bottom line, isn't it? Is that we have that computing power, that mechanical thing, that we are, in a variety of ways, our own trigger system. So I'll just show you a very gentle throw, just to show you the
Please,
mechanism of what's
please.
going on.
Not on him,
with our
though,
Safety
Todd.
shot. So I'm
Don't-
just going to go a bit closer
Don't hit
here,
him.
and then
Yeah.
I can give it a bit more. So
Right.
the weight is in the sling.
Yes.
So I just go back, and now I'm up. Right. So what I would do at this point is not carry on whirling round and round like this. Like I said, the more you do it, the sort of more you lose focus.
Nice.
Ouch.
That's it. So what I'll do now, I've got a couple of lead shot in my pocket. So
Oh,
I'll
of
go
course
again,
he does.
but for these, I would like you guys to step back a bit.
Of course he does. Did he say lead shots? Boom, go, go. That's a beautiful shot. Oh gosh, that was fast. It must take a lot of practice to be accurate. Did it hit him? Boom. I love the final acceleration. I think he did. He did hit him like here. And see?
Wow, so I'm starting to see how specialised that weapon must be. It's not as easy as just aiming it and letting go.
No, it's really not.
I'm slightly terrified to ask, but can I have a go?
Absolutely, I'd be
Absolutely.
disappointed if you didn't. That's why you're here. Just
Hold on a minute. So, yeah, all right. So the episode doesn't finish in the next 15 seconds, so he did not end Todd. Spoiler alert.
practice getting this swinging up into the air. So just a little bit back, a little bit forward, and then just get it up and twirling. That's
Well,
it.
look, Todd going away.
Practice holding on right now, okay? So
Oh,
that's
no, don't
really
slow down.
And
that's
is there
kind of
is there a
it.
knack to? Is it the faster you swing it, the better, or not in my case, obviously, but does that generate the force behind the
Yeah, I
stone?
mean, absolutely. So it's the old centripetal force business.
Yeah.
So let's just say that's a meter string. So we can do some simple maths, and that means that each revolution is doing 3.2 meters of distance. Now, if you're going round and round really, really fast, that's great. If you're going even faster, it's doing that 3.2 meters at a faster speed. That's basically what you're looking for. So it's a very simple thing. The faster you're twirling it, the faster the rock is going. It's dead simple.
Dead simple. A few yards away. I was feeling confident.
All right.
Well, it's
Oh, it
normal
went the right
that.
direction.
It went the right
It's not
direction.
a bad start. It's nowhere near our target.
No, I really don't worry about that. The fact that you hit the goalpost is quite good.
Yeah, if that was the enemy. So what's cool about this is that, I mean, I would most likely not do very well either. Okay, because it's normal. I think what the problem here is that he released the thumb too early because he was too eager to try and throw it. I imagine this is what happened by looking at it. And once again, it's most likely what I would do. And probably it takes, I don't know how long. I imagine you'd be better at it already after like 15, 20 throws, it's my guess. But then I'm sure it takes like a lot of practice, like months and months. And to get like really, really good, it might take longer than that. And of course, the younger you are when you start, I imagine the better. But I really do see people becoming really, really accurate with it to the point of being able to hit someone precisely in the head.
With the technique pretty much sorted, it was time to hit the target.
Please.
No, I stalled partway
Yeah.
through that, didn't I?
It's funny. It's really funny that
Really funny.
you start thinking about it and it immediately goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to not think. I forgot to tell you that. There's so much to
Yeah,
tell you.
don't think.
But that's the thing. It's really quite a sophisticated. It's deceptively simple. It's a sophisticated weapon. What I would say though, I used to mess about with these a lot more 10 years ago. It does.
I think sophisticated and simple are mutual exclusive in this case, Todd, but I do understand. I think the reason is, I'm not making fun of him because that's Todd we're talking about. He can wipe the floor with me with all of his crossbows and he can use his trebuchet. I'm not even safe in a castle from this man. But you know what's interesting? I do know why he says that. It's because it is simple. But to someone like him, who is like an engineer of weapons, it's not, because then he can deconstruct it into all of its different things and components and constituents and how it's made and the material and what generated that direction in the design, that it becomes sophisticated through his lenses. That's what happened.
It doesn't take that much to be able to get a stone 100 metres within about a 10-metre drop,
Right.
which is perfect for sort of battlefield use.
So it's reasonably learnable. You do need some skill,
Well,
but
yeah.
you can develop that skill quite quickly.
Yes, you can. To get really good, no. But to get kind
That's
of like
what I
vaguely
thought.
competent. And don't forget, by the time you get to certainly, well, medieval Roman times, my dad was Italian. He was taught
Good man.
by a farmer to use a sling to keep the birds off, and he got apples in exchange. That sort of transaction would have...
Yeah, that sounds like old school Italian, like rural old school Italian is what that sounds to me. Much respect. Yeah, that's right, because what's his surname again? Well, I don't know if he wants me to say it publicly. I don't know if it's public information, but he does have an Italian surname now that I think about it.
been going through history. So an awful lot of people, even if they don't use it all the time, have used it, and they're competent with it to a level.
Yeah.
Competent enough for simple battlefield use.
More competent than me.
And me, but yes. Bluntly put, yes.
So is there an evolution of this then? Is there a way that we can make this better or maybe easier for an idiot like me to use?
There's not really a direct evolution of this one, but the staff sling is superficially very similar, and of course shares half a name. Throwing.
Let's move to another weapon, because as I say, I'm getting really, so slingshots, lovely, or with a stick. So if you want to watch that, and it's one of the most replayed, so you should totally check it out. I don't want to take it away from the channel. Spear and throwing arrows, bows. I'm going to go for the bows now. I want to see the bows in action. Let's go.
Well, that was really good fun.
Yeah,
But
interesting.
I
Good
guess
fun.
we've been ignoring the elephant in the room, particularly for someone like me. I'm fascinated by the Wars of the Roses, the Hundred
Yeah.
Years' War, with which I most associate the English longbow. We've got a couple of bows, we've got some arrows. Let's get
We
some out
have.
of those.
So we've got to string them first, but this is a lighter one. It's about 40 pound in draw weight. Now, it's one that, you know, I can just easily shoot for something like this. It's one that I'm set to you to be easily able to shoot as well.
And that is a very good point, of course, because one of the things about medieval actual war bows, such as, you know, the Mary Rose longbow, for instance, I wouldn't be able to pull it. I know that much. And if you're not trained, and if you're not a muscular, strong man, particularly with that sort of strength that is required for that type of pull, if you want to follow the medieval way, particularly in looks, even an iconography, you're supposed to be able to pull all the way back to your ear. So this, you know, with a medieval longbow is nothing. It's not acceptable from medieval authorities, kings, princes. You'd be like, shh, and they will look at you and frown. So no, you have to like be able to pull all the way back to your ear. This, of course, doesn't mean that there wouldn't be any situation in which things just, maybe the archer was going to pull, but then something happened and he needs to release more quickly. Never say never. But when we look at iconography, first of all, look how big, look how big the longbows were. That is insane. There we go. I found a good one. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. And also the way they put their body into it is really interesting when you look at iconography. I love the double color as well.
It's a bit more real. It's about 130 pound longbow.
Oh.
Now that's all well and good, and it's brilliant for taking a war, but you've got to train with it. And that's why, you know, under the English system, we used to own a bow and arrows from the age of 7, and we had to shoot with them every Sabbath day. And the reason for that is it's hard.
And when we
course.
say 130 pound bow, what do we mean? What does the 130 pounds mean?
It means that it is the force taken to draw the string back, not obviously the weight of the bow itself.
Yeah.
You know, in that very jokey way, it's probably about 2 pounds. But draw that one, 40 pound one back to your ear. Don't let go of the string.
See,
just pull
to
it
your
back
ear.
and let it back down. So you can do that relatively easily.
Yeah. Oh, holy moly. Oh my God.
And that is much, much harder to
Yeah.
get any
So
kind
you're
of distance
about that kind of far short.
He is.
More than I'd expect you to do, actually, so well done.
Well done.
But what it means is that any efficiency in the making of that bow is just wasted because you're just not able to deliver the potential that thing's got.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem with longbows. That really is the problem with longbows. You have to be trained from a young age for the high poundage, heavy bow shooting. The great.
That's why archers were paid more than other types of troops sometimes, not more than knights, of course, and professional men-at-arms kind of depends. At the end of the day, even crossbowmen up to a certain extent would be cheaper because not only you have to pay the archers, but you have to train the archers, and it takes years. And as he says, depending on the country, would become like a cultural thing that you've got to train your archers from the population. And you have to imagine that really if we were to meet medieval longbowmen from the medieval period, they would be pretty buff, particularly like these areas of the body where you build the strength to be able to do that. An archer wouldn't be like a little thin guy as you would imagine in a, say, I don't know, more of a fantasy setting, whereas the guy with the mace is the big guy, or the guy with the axe is the big guy, but the guy with the bow is going to be a small, slender type. In fact, it's the opposite when you go into longbow territory. Now, not every bow is a longbow, but when you look at this sort of war bows, the massive ones, the high poundage one, you need a tough guy to operate them.
It just doesn't work out as a weapon of war.
Yeah.
Not really, not for distance.
So this would be a really specialist tool that would be wasted on me.
Absolutely
Yeah.
wasted on you.
And me.
There are men who can shoot it. You know, there certainly are now, and there certainly were then.
Sure. There were
more
more than...
supply in England because we had the laws. But they still could on the continent, but not enough for them to field armies. And that's why we were able to field regularly armies full of archers, and they were not. So they had to rely on the crossbow.
Yep.
But first off, I think we'll shoot these. We'll shoot this one.
That was one of the reasons why when I played the original Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is set in the medieval kingdom of Bohemia, I was so annoyed that they didn't add the crossbow at first. I don't even remember if they ever did. Well, you'll let me know in the comments, I'm sure. Because that was a crossbow country, absolutely. Genoa was another crossbow power, with the famous Genoese crossbowmen, of course, but so was the Kingdom of Bohemia. So I was so pissed. I'm like, where are the crossbowmen? Like, can you imagine setting a video game that is historically accurate in medieval England and have no longbow as a weapon that you can use?
And then we'll move on to the crossbow. We'll talk a little bit about the differences.
Nice, nice. This is fun. This is a good episode. It's the best episode so far, to be honest. This is good.
Right, is there a right and a wrong way to do this, or should I just give it a go?
Just give it a go. I mean, there definitely is, but if you shot a bit before, you'll be all right.
Okay. Ooh, that looks fun.
I've worried his friend.
I've worried his friend. Or maybe hit his friend. Boom.
Worried the same friend. And again, if we're firing into a group of people,
Yeah.
even my incompetence is doing some
Oh, it
damage
is to his
in there.
neighbours, yeah, for sure. But what it doesn't change is the heavy bow weights.
Okay, so
Right.
this is something I could pick up from nothing and be reasonably okay at, but I'm never going to pull a much bigger bow than this.
You're never going to pull the bows of war. And there's nothing that you can do about it. And it's not a case of competence or incompetence, you just haven't done the training.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
So it really is like an elite
Basically, you're not an
athlete
archer.
sport,
You're not an
being
archer.
a proper war bowman.
Yeah, I think it probably was. And I mean, there must have been vast pride about it, you know, to be the best shot in the village or
Oh,
the best
yeah.
shot in the town. Must have meant so much, because it doesn't matter on your social standing whether you're high or low.
Boom.
The point is, that day you could be, you know, virtually peasant, and you're standing on the shooting line, and now you are the best man.
And you could take out a knight or a king.
And you
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
Yeah.
even
And that
for
was
your
very
low
much
status.
the English way, you know, because we didn't worry about the chivalric laws. If he's a target, he's a target.
If he's a target, he's a target. Yeah. Very well said. I want to see Todd shoot with it.
So that's the thing. That's my daughter's football goal, that is.
Sorry, Todd's daughter. Well, I didn't manage to hit Joe specifically, unfortunately, much to my disappointment with this. And I guess the other thing on the table that I'm looking at that fits in here
Crossbow.
is the English in the medieval period were really proud of their bows. We tend to associate crossbows with being a more continental version and with being easier to use, much more
Oh,
of
yeah.
a leveler than a longbow. Is that fair?
Yeah, so the English did use crossbows as well. So we used them in sieges, particularly in naval warfare. So don't think that we only had longbows.
Yeah, sure.
But as we said earlier, we had the laws in England about training from a very young age to shoot the very powerful bows. They didn't have that on the continent. So if they wanted to shoot power, they couldn't use the longbow. They couldn't deliver lots of men to do it. But they could use crossbows.
Yep.
So they did. But you go to countries like Italy, where they're really famous for producing crossbow mercenaries. And those guys are paid 3 or 4 times the price that an English archer was paid. And an English archer was paid quite well.
Yep.
So the thing is, if they're really easy to use, why are the guys paid so much to do it? Because that doesn't make sense. Because
That is it's a very interesting point. Let me see if I can come up with a logical response to that. At the end of the day, it's true that training a crossbowman, you can do it in a matter of weeks, as opposed to training someone to operate a longbow full poundage, which is going to take years. So the difference is astronomical. I believe part of the price will be the equipment, that's for sure. And then, as with everything, you're paying for professional soldiers. So soldiers that are trained, soldiers that are not going to run away in battle, soldiers that know how to operate the weapon well, and also soldiers that are good at it. So that still takes time. And then I think you're also paying for the fame, because at the end of the day, now he's specifically mentioning the Genoese crossbowmen. So they were renowned for being elite. So you're paying for the elite. I imagine you could field very cheap crossbowmen if you wanted to. And so it really is a matter of kind of a case by case.
otherwise everybody would be doing it. But then the other side of that whole thing is they absolutely are easier to use. So I
Yeah.
could get you to shoot Joe reliably in 30 minutes from here, so, which you couldn't do with a longbow because you simply wouldn't be able to draw the power. So there's a conflict of information there that I've never been able to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, which suggests there's kind of a wide range with this. You can pick it up and fire it straight away,
Yeah.
but also you can become an elite fighting force based around these that commands high wages.
It does, and I think, to be fair, they were better armoured, their equipment was
Yeah.
expensive, they were probably very good fighters in other ways, because, of course, archers are not just about missile weapons. When you've shot your bolt, you take your weapons out and you go into the fight
Buckler and
with your
sword.
swords, your maces, your clubs, your whatever.
Yeah. So you may be
So-
hiring more than just a crossbowman.
You would be. But let's take that off your hands and I'll show you how we shoot these.
Yes, please.
This is a goat's foot bow. And a goat's foot bow is because the lever used to span it is shaped, as you can
Right.
tell, just like a goat's foot. But the point is that this bow here is about 450 pounds in draw weight. You cannot pull the string back. So you need a device to do it. You can do it with hooks and belts and pulleys and things like that on slightly lighter bows, or if you're very
Yeah.
strong, this one.
Or like putting it down and using your foot. By imagining this, you really, you need the tool.
But then also you can use windlasses. This is not a windlass bow, but it's where you have a whole gear system of pulleys and ropes.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
shooting
And
very
you
powerful
turn them
bows.
around, yeah.
There's a couple of other systems, but this one works really well. But it's not amazingly powerful. But basically you've got the lever here, you
I
pop
need
it
to
onto
buy
the
one.
string there, and you've got these two lugs. You just hook the lever
Right.
over the lugs. So we're ready to go now. That just sits in the joint between your leg and your torso. You come back,
Yeah.
so you get a nice click, and you're spanned. So actually, that was several times the power.
Oh, I know what that is. That explains that mission in Skyrim when you need to get the golden claw. That's what it was.
Of the bow that you were shooting earlier, that you tried to pull earlier. So you take your bolt, you put the butt of it against the string, raise it,
Let's go,
hold
let's
it in
go.
tight to your shoulder.
Note how his elbow is a square. It's all out, and right. This is something that we see a lot in iconography, but we also see it, believe it or not, in early firearms, including arquebuses, for instance, in Japanese warfare. I want to see if I can show you this. So here is a piece of iconography to justify what I just said. When you put your foot in the loop to reload your crossbow, and here is another one. If you ever want to reenact a crossbowman, don't forget to hold them over your shoulder, by the way, just to be period iconography accurate. Here is one piece of iconography when we kind of see that rising elbow posture. And here are a few more. Also, if you run into a resurrected Jesus Christ, don't be disrespectful, lower your crossbow. Here's another example. And just for a difference, this is instead one that is using a more kind of lowered elbow posture, if you will, so those exist too. Boom, right in the heart. Oh my gosh, it's like
Yeah.
the throat.
And I think that comes down to part of the point
Almost.
we're talking about. I make these things, I own them, but actually I probably shoot 2 bolts a month, maybe, and that's what I can do. They really are, in many respects, a great leveler. But
We're going to
Oh,
find
yeah.
out
Let's
how
see.
much of a leveler they might be.
Let's see.
Whilst the crossbow may have been a leveler when shooting, cranking the weapon was another story.
I imagine.
Once I finally had it
Oh
cocked,
gosh.
my sights were set on my arch nemesis.
Let's go. Ooh.
Got him. Finally
In the-
hit Joe with something.
so there you go. And that bow is equivalent to about a
Holy.
£100 longbow, something like that, because the poundage
That's
is different on crossbows and
crazy.
longbows. But a big windlass bow is as good as the biggest longbows that anybody can shoot. And you could do that. If you can do that, you can do a windlass bow.
This was wonderful. This was great. So I must say, fantastic episode. I don't want to watch the whole thing. I skipped the whole section with spears, which I'm sure was great. So do click the link in the description. I put it both in the in a pinned comment and, as I say, in the description for ease of use. And massive thanks to Todd and Matt for filming this, and of course History Hit. This one was a good one. So very nice, credit when credit is due. Thank you so much for watching, Noble Ones. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.